D. It's me 5 at the door. All right. All right, you're good. You go inside.
Good morning, everyone. I am Brandt from The Sinner and the Saint. I'm so happy to have you, big dog. You've had a killer record this year. How's everything been going?
Things have been going good. Thank you for saying it was a killer record. Yeah, it's been quite the year. Very busy, and yeah, it's good to be
Hell
here.
yeah. Yeah, no, so let's just kind of walk through the Sinner and the Saint stuff. Like, this is the new record. I'm Home Whenever is, came out. You all went through Reply Guy Records to do some tapes. Just, give me a little, let's do a little lore.
Yeah, so we actually some way back when, probably around like 2019-ish, I started writing some songs that were a little bit different from like some of the older stuff that we released. And then something happened over the year 2020 that prevented a lot of us from performing. And I ended up sitting down with a lot of those songs, like re-sitting down with those songs. And I was just like, I'm gonna work this into something. And eventually we eventually made it so that we ended up coming up with enough songs to do a record. And we were like, do we want to commit to a full album? We've only ever done EPs before. So yeah, we were like, hey, let's do an album. And our drummer, who did the mixing and the mastering and everything, he was willing to do that for us, which I don't know if he regrets now, because it was a lot of work. But yeah, no, it was a blast to make. So
hell yeah. So where are y'all based out of?
So we're from Green Bay, Wisconsin.
Cool.
A lot of people kind of call it this. It's like an empty valley is what I want to describe it as, because there's so many cool bands that are here, but a lot of it gets overshadowed because Green Bay is known for football. That's the
funny, true. It's same thing kind of with here, but with country music. Like Nashville has some of the best like underground indie emo metal. All of that has been super sick, but everyone keeps thinking this is just like the country city. So like the overshadowing, I completely relate to that.
Yeah, because it's like we have a bunch of bands that are really good, like bands that maybe they don't use social media and stuff like that. They're just kind of here.
Mm-hmm.
And they're good friends of ours, and I keep telling them, like, there's a huge scene outside of even Green Bay, like Madison, Milwaukee, like about those bands, I'm sure. But it's like being in Green Bay is like one of those things where it's like we don't have as many venues, and a lot of the arts and the music and stuff kind of falls to the wayside unless like a DIY group is putting something on. So that's what we kind of have to rely on. We have to rely on each other a lot here. So
that's the spirit of the whole thing.
Oh, for sure.
Would you say that like that the community, it has done a good job of like not only keeping up with the times, but like keeping up with like what people want, which is like DIY music to come through?
I would say, yeah. I think so. There's a lot of bands that we're like I said, that we're friends with that are super, they're just super talented, I want them to get some of the recognition of like, because they have been, aside from the social media stuff, which obviously has become like it's like a second job for some DIY bands, and I'm sure you guys know that, like,
sure.
But it becomes one of those things that like I'm sure that's part of why maybe they aren't getting out as much, but at the same time, like, I know how talented they are. So but yeah,
that's cool. Now let's talk about kind of this record. I sat with it this morning and just kind of listened to it a couple of times, and it's got this, y'all are kind of channeling almost a little bit of like there's like this 90s indie, 90s pop, early 2000s indie stuff as well. It's just, but it's at like 1.5 speed. It feels like, it feels, you know, nice and fun and fast, but it's still light. And it's honestly, it's a pretty, this, you know, there are some, it's pretty optimistic, musically, lyrically, there's obviously some stuff there, but
Yeah.
it's nice to hear just like, honestly, so much major key stuff.
Yeah.
When you write, do you tend to just kind of like stick, like what were you listening to when you were working on these songs?
So a lot of what I was personally listening to when I was like writing and like coming up with the guitar parts, I was listening to a lot of modern baseball, and I was listening to the Front Bottoms for a bit.
Mhm.
But I was also listening to bands like Cake. I'm a big fan of Cake. And that's kind of what, like, when I started making music, I wasn't very confident in my voice, and listening to bands like Cake or like some of those indie, like 90s, you know, like, I don't know, it's like post-punk kind of, you know, vibe.
Sure, like on this, like even like Mineral, or like even like just some like, is it like, what would you say are like some inspiration vocally in the 90s for you?
So I listen to a lot of, I'm a big Weezer fan. Okay.
Cool.
So I
Awesome.
think
That makes a lot of sense.
yeah, I think that's where a lot of it comes from. And then it was a lot of me, I would just listen to some Weezer songs, and that's actually how I learned partly how to play guitar, was just like listening to the songs and kind of getting a feel for the guitar. So I think that's why a lot of the songs kind of end up in that territory of they sound a little happier,
Mhm.
but like when you look at some of the lyrics, it's definitely not that. So
Yeah. I love kind of like this vibe that y'all have curated, because I don't think anyone's really touching on a lot of this. I think that of the stuff that is like pretty, you know, if you think about a lot of the stuff that has come out this year, I would say that like a lot of it is pretty minor key focused. So specifically like all of the new Ben Quad stuff, all
oh
minor
yeah.
key. All I mean, I would say, you know, I talked to Hey I Love You, you know, there's a lot of like really, really good, you know, major key stuff.
Oh yeah.
Is there something that is, what's the gravity that kind of pulls you in towards those kind of structures? Do you think it's just the Weezer like coming through you that just wants to kind of stay in almost these doo-wop chords?
So I think what it came down to is when I started like coming up with some of those ideas, it was like there was a heavy emphasis on taking what emo was and kind of going like being more self-aware of it.
Mhm.
Like, you know, not to be like, you know, I don't want to sound like, you know, I'm just like this like auteur kind of thing,
Oh
but
no, go in, lean in, baby, lean in.
but no, I was thinking about it as like, because a lot of the bands that we're friends with that are emo bands, you know, Tiny Voices, you know, we Arcadia Gray, stuff like that. They, you know, they tend to, you know, they take on these serious subjects, and a lot of the bands that I listened to that were emo when I was younger would take on those serious subjects, and you would feel how serious they were. And part of me was in my brain, I was thinking like maybe I could be a little bit more like understanding that maybe how I'm feeling can be stupid sometimes. Not necessarily all the time, you know, because feelings, you know, are
Sure.
valid sometimes, um, but yeah, definitely thinking more along the lines of just understanding that, hey, even if you're emo, like you can kind of joke about it a little bit. So
Yeah, I think that's also like, you know, the first band you mentioned was Modern Baseball, and those first like the first two records are full of jokes.
oh
That's
yeah.
it's they're like, you know, I would say uh you know, both of those writers do tend to you know, get things out through humor and being quippy as fucking possible, specifically those, yeah, those first two records.
Oh, for sure.
The you know, but yeah, congratulations on the record. Things
Oh,
seem to
thank you.
be going really, really, you know, sick. What's kind of like the rest of this year and 2025 looking for the Sinner and the Saint?
So hopefully we're kind of taking a little bit of time while we have it, over the holidays to write some music, to kind of just chill. If people ask us to play a show and we're able to do it, like,
Mhm.
I'm sure we're willing to, but for the most part it's going to be kind of sitting down, writing, figuring out how we want to go forward with writing new songs, because I think one of the things was like, um I wanted to challenge myself a little bit more. Like on the record, I challenged myself a little bit more to learn how to play different things on guitar while singing. That was always a struggle for me. That's why if you listen to like the first EP and the second EP, it's very simple chord-based stuff.
Mhm.
And I've been messing around a lot on guitar. So I think we're going to kind of focus a little bit more on challenging ourselves a little bit more instrumentally, and then maybe me challenging myself with, doing some more metaphor, doing some more, some writing about some different topics, hopefully. So I think that's basically what's going to be the end of 2024. 2025, I know the beginning has a couple of projects
Mhm.
that we were invited on to do that I can't say much about.
Okay,
But
all right. Well, that's sick though. That's cool
yeah.
that you guys have stuff like kind of, bullets in the chamber.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Cool.
Um,
That's so cool that you guys have like, there's always it's always kind of, weird. I'm not a good planner. So like for all the band stuff that we do, there's a lot of like, oh yeah, there's also this. Oh shit, I need to look at my fucking calendar for this. Oh, we're being asked to do this. Oh fuck.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I get overwhelmed pretty easily. Like, what do you think is like kind of, do you consider yourself like an organized band member? Do you guys feel like you're an organized band?
Yes and no. Just because I know, at least with me, I try to at least keep up on everything that needs to get done.
Mhm.
When it comes to like deadlines and stuff like that, I usually am the one that's like, hey guys, we got this thing coming up. We gotta figure that out. So at least when it comes to that sort of thing, I've been pretty, organized in that regard.
Sure.
But like sometimes it's yeah, even when we were doing the record, it was a lot of, I was doing like an ARG creepypasta thing while
No,
yeah,
wait, whoa, whoa,
yeah,
whoa.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
What? That's
Okay,
so cool.
so yeah, for those who don't know, which is a lot of people, I did put a lot of work into it, but I completely get like, um if it didn't, if maybe it didn't, get on people's radar. But I was working really hard on coming up with some stuff. I was filming with my girlfriend, and we were coming up with I was basically just like throwing ideas at the band, like, hey, here's this silly idea, and they were like, yeah, I mean, we can go for that. And that's where like the album cover kind of comes into play. It all leads up to the album cover and stuff like that. So that was a lot of the work that we put in this past year.
Well,
Was just
if we wanted to
getting
do like a retrospective of it, like like how does someone go in? Is it all a digital ARG?
yeah.
Where's the so we'll post a link for that, but send me the link for like kind of how it starts. Maybe we can get people to like see like how everyone got there, which is really cool because I think not a lot of people play. The last time I saw an ARG in DIYs, I'm pretty sure Foxing did that for Draw Down the Moon.
Oh
There
yeah.
was like a bunch of really cool, basically little games that they created. So that's so sick that you spent all that time. We're gonna find it and we're gonna make people participate. Yes, or is the record out already? But it doesn't matter because I think that work is cool and people should, people will still like that work.
Yeah. No, it was a lot of like, I remember going, because actually equipment, they did an ARG that it was like something smaller that was they did something in Minecraft. They did like their whole ARG in Minecraft.
Whoa,
And
whoa.
yeah. So as soon as I saw that, I was already working on our kind of like, creepypasta kind of thing going on in the background. And as soon as I saw that, I was like, man, they're gonna think we're copying equipment. Like, and equipment's so cool and they're so like good at what they do.
Mhm.
but I kept like pushing forward. I ended up before we even had the record finished. I made a Twitter account of a fake business, and I just kind of posted on there like a couple times weekly, just about houses and like buildings and stuff like that. And then it led to like how emo bands always use like houses. Like there's a lot of houses on
Oh,
album covers.
it's so funny. It's cars and houses. Like if they're like 1,000,000%.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I thought it would be funny because we are that emo-ish band that decides to go, kind of making fun of ourselves and like, so I just decided to kind of roll with it and come up with a reason like, why is there a house on this cover? Like why, all this stuff is going on, and why is this DIY band working with this organization that came out of nowhere? And I just wanted to see if I could pull something off. It was a lot, and I don't know if I'd do it again at the same scale. But I mean, maybe like if I have another idea like it, I'll definitely go for it. So
That's so sick. Here, give me just a second. My dog's barking. I'm gonna get the
okay,
vacuum. Give me a second.
you're good.
All right.
Welcome back.
Hell yeah. Okay, cool. So let's kind of dive into the stuff that kind of leads into how everyone was able to do this in the first place. It's very expensive to be in a band. It's very
Oh yeah.
time consuming. It's kind of it's a second life you have to lead.
Mhm.
So what do you do for your day job, and how do you kind of keep all this stuff together?
So I work in retail. Couple of our other members also work in retail. Um, One of our members was working in politics for a little bit, and then one's a factory worker. So we're kind of all over the place with that. Working in retail is obviously a pain, especially right now with
Yeah, holidays must be kind of fucking crazy.
Yeah, I'm every year I regret it more and more, and it is something else. But a lot of the stuff that I do for the band, at least, whenever I have to send like an email or if I have an idea, it's usually at work. So I'm doing a lot of that stuff, like I'll go on break, or if there's a lull in something, uh, I have a recording app on my phone that you can hear me coming up with ideas at work while you also hear like stuff going on in the background because people are shopping and stuff like that. So I'm just trying to like hide coming up with vocal parts or lyrics or like bass parts and stuff like that. So
Totally.
a lot of it is just like whenever I have an idea, I'm like, oh fuck, I gotta do that real quick, hang on. And so that's a lot of what it is when I'll work the retail job, and then they've been pretty good about scheduling around shows.
Mhm.
Uh, when we went to Ohio, when we did Coachella 6 a little bit ago, they were like, "Why do you need this much time off?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm going to be gone for a little bit," and they were very accommodating, so that was at least nice.
Hell yeah.
Um, but yeah, so the retail thing, it's just ends up becoming like, whenever I have break and if somebody messages me like, hey, uh, we want to do a show with you, or, hey, there's this thing, I'll be like, okay, when I get on break, I'll figure that out and then kind of organize it. So
Hell yeah. Do you find that like being in a band and doing all this stuff, like where do you see yourself in a couple of years? Do you are you going to still are you going to go back to school? Are you going to still work? Are you going to try and make still more music? Where do y'all see kind of again where the band and your life intersect? I always find that sometimes there's a lot of friction, and then that is kind of like I love that part because it makes people either, hey, I'm gonna do music forever and I'm gonna figure out how to like live with that friction. And so yeah, where do you see yourself in a couple of years?
So I know, like at least with once we put out the record, it was like a big weight off of our shoulders, like kind of like going like, holy shit, we actually, some people talk about like a curse, like, oh, bands only put out like 2 EPs and then they break up.
Sure.
And that was one of the things that I was thinking about. I was like, man, are we gonna even finish this record? Like, is this gonna happen? But I like doing music, and even if it comes down the line where maybe the center of the saint isn't a thing.
Sure.
Because all of us are old. Like I'm 30 years old, and I'm
36.
I'm making music for
I didn't start
people.
My stuff. I didn't start my stuff till a lot later in life. So like you guys have been doing this since you were 5?
Yes, yeah, it's been 6-ish years, I want to say. And yeah, so it's always that thought, like, I'm obviously I don't want to give up on it.
Yeah.
So if they stick with me and we're doing stuff, like, I'm that's where I want to be with writing music. Hopefully getting better at writing music is also a thing.
Hell yeah.
I keep practicing and writing stuff, and even if it's bad, I'll still keep it. So
I find that like a lot of the reasons why we do this is kind of like a personal therapy. And it sucks that like that's the therapy that we have to pay for as well. It's like we have to pay for it somehow. And one of it, we either pay by actually going to therapy, or we pay because we're doing music and recording and mixing and mastering and shit. And touring, and it's just like it's a different type. But I find that everyone's still mature. I find it like being in a band and like doing music can sometimes be inherently selfish, because it's like I want to be on stage. I want to explore my feelings on stage, and I want people to like, whether it's to like look at me. I think some people are just like pursuing it like because they have to. And I think that's kind of what I felt from everyone that I've talked to, is that everyone is just pursuing this because that's it, for them, or at least like this part of them is. So the gravity towards making music, not only is it helpful for them, but it's because it helps people grow up in a way. Why do you think you keep leaning into music, and you've leaned into the Sinner and the Saint for the last 6 years?
I think a lot of the reason, it's the therapeutic part is definitely like a big, chunk of that. It's one of those things where, I get up there and I, play music, and even if there's a couple people in the crowd, like it's still nice to have that sort of like outlet. I know, like if it comes down to it and like, things get crazy, like crazy big or whatever, like great. But, at the end of the day, just making the music and stuff like that is kind of what it is. Like as soon as we were done with recording and, getting everything done, I was immediately like, I want to make another one. Even with
That's
all the
awesome.
work.
That's so cool.
So I was just like, it keeps me busy. It's one of the things that I, do outside of, I hang out with my girlfriend, and then I go to work, and then there's some other times where, I'll play video games, whatever. But writing the music and performing the music, and even stuff that doesn't end up getting finished that I just have on my hard drive that are just sitting there. It just, having something that's there that I'm making, it just feels good. So So yeah, that's really what it comes down to, at least for me. So
I like that. I think that everyone's got like their big reasons of like the why of everyone's doing this. So that's really cool that it is again, everything kind of lands in the same bucket with everyone. They're doing this because they kind of have to, and that it's their favorite way of kind of like ripping their chest open and having everything spill out. What this new record, what do you think like are the main themes that you wanted to convey?
So when I was originally writing some of the songs, the earliest song that we wrote on the record was "What's So Great About Domo California." That was the
I love that name so much.
Yeah, I there's a couple references to SpongeBob on there because that's what I grew up watching. But that was one of the first songs because it was a little bit more complicated in terms of it wasn't just chords, it was something, and we kind of built off that. And then I remember playing a show like out in the middle of nowhere, at like a rec center, like really early on when we started playing, and that song was like in its infancy, and the guy there was a guy, he wasn't really heckling us, he was just making a comment. He was like, "Oh, your songs are all about going places," and the whole of the album ended up being different ways of like, the phrase "I'm home whenever" can have a couple different meanings if you like, if you think about it. Like, you don't have to think about it too hard, but
yeah, I can see it. Like I find in the dialogue tree of my head of like when I would select that, and is kind of there's a lot of places I would use that, and I love the name of the record, and I think that's kind of what I'm trying to dive into is like it means something a lot to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, just kind of like let's just go into what this all means.
Yeah, it's a lot about like finding home or leaving a place that you might call home, whether that's a place of comfort or whether that's an actual physical place. So like traveling, moving away, somebody else moving away. There's a lot of moving involved with this. And the opening track, Whenever I'm Home, is talking about a more negative outlook on the whole thing, where it's just like, whenever I'm home, I just don't want to be here. Whether that means something darker or whether that means just I don't want to be at home. And then the outro track, which is the title track, I'm Home Whenever, is kind of somebody responding to that first message. Basically being like, hey, if you leave or anything like that, I'll be here if you need me. And basically like leaving the door open kind of thing, for if, somebody has to vent about anything, or if, again, they need a physical place to come back to. And it's amazing what came of that. 'Cause it's like the original idea for it was just a message that, our bass player left when we were going to practice. He's like, yeah, the door's unlocked, I'm home whenever. And the realization, our lead guitarist was like, that'd be a great name for something. And I was like, you know what? That really applies to a lot of what the songs are about. Even maybe like one song is like in a roundabout kind of way, but it just overall was like a really cool idea. And then again, taking that idea and being, the album cover is literally a pun of that, where it's like, I'm literally at home.
Yeah, I'm literally at home. I didn't put that together till right now, and I'm just sitting there like, oh my God, it's so good.
Yeah, no, that was one of those things where I was just like, we got to put a home on this. Like, maybe we can make a pun, because we are kind of a jokey band sometimes. And just having like a dad pun like that, even as the cover of the record, was just something that we were like, yeah, no, it's just very us. That house was one of my favorite projects that we worked on with the album, because that's not like edited or anything. That's like a legitimate, like, basically dollhouse that we had to make, where we painted that. We put the
Oh
door
my
on.
God, I'm looking at it right now. I thought that it was like some photo. You guys literally built that?
Yeah, I have it. I have it in my closet right now.
Oh, it's so good. What? And
Yeah.
like the picture is fantastic.
Yeah,
Like
that's
it's so cool.
my girlfriend took that picture and she edited it and made it look nice, and it looks clean. It's, you can't see it, but there's literally like, because the thing's so top heavy,
Yeah.
but there's literally like string that we had to get, and basically it was like putting me in a saw trap. I'm wearing that thing on my head.
Whoa.
So like it was basically a saw trap where I had to get like tied to that fence behind me, and uh it was like literally just like held up just by that string that was behind. So it was like this really, we were like, all right, well, if this doesn't work, we got to figure something out with the strap, and eventually we figured out that we could just make it like that. So and yeah,
that's so cool. You guys put so much work into this.
yeah, it was a lot. And I was thinking, I was like, man, what if this sucks? Like, what if we have to, like, what if we have to resort to like something else? Like, maybe it's not going to be as cool if we, because obviously there's some really talented artists that probably could, do something like that. But we're like, what if we could just do it ourselves with this? And, I ended up, my girlfriend found like a horse stable that somebody made for like some kids' dolls, like, doll horses, stuff like that. And I was like, oh my God, that might actually be able to fit on my head. And then we cut into it. We, formed it the way that we needed to. And we bought shingles off of Etsy, and we bought the door off of Etsy, and the windows were there originally. We just had to like clean them up.
They're perfect. They just look like these little eyes. It's like flawless.
Yeah, no, it was, we were very happy with it. And it ended up being like, again, it was a fun project. Our bass player did the chimney and like carved that. It's just styrofoam, and he like painted it and stuff like that. And it turned out really cool. And a lot of that stuff that, went with the album, like even the CDs that we ended up doing, there's a lot of stuff that we put into there. So it meant a lot just to do that all by ourselves. So
I think that I think there's like two schools of thought. Like when you put things out, like you can either have like no thought going to it and it's fine. And then you put a lot of thought into it. Like I think it's not even for like the audience in that aspect, where it's like, listen, it's about, I care about it. I wanted to put my little bows on it. I didn't do this for anybody else. Like, I'm glad that y'all like took this time. How long did you say, like, when you guys were like, okay, we're going to do this new record, from then until the release of it, how long do you think that was?
Well, if you wanted to go based off of the first song, it was probably like 5 years.
That's crazy.
But that's just basing it off the first song. So like literally that California song, What's So Great About Domo California, that was kind of the basis for how I would write guitar parts and kind of do some of the singing. So that became kind of the footprint. And then over time, I was like writing some ideas in the background, coming up with them. We did end up playing a lot of the songs at shows, which I'm regretting. But it ended up like all of the songs ended up like over that time. Like I said, it was probably like 5 years. But again, COVID happened, stuff like that. It wasn't, the smoothest. We wanted to get, even our second EP took longer than we wanted to get out just because of everything that was going on. And that ended up coming out. And then, it was basically like, I think another couple years after that EP until the full album came out. So,
well, congratulations on everything. I mean,
thanks so much.
6 years, 2 EPs, a full LP, the Sinner and the Saint coming up. It's like, are y'all planning on like getting hit in the road and doing anything fall or like spring?
I think if we're gonna do anything, it's gonna be spring. We didn't end up having anything really work out for the fall. So we were supposed to go on tour, and then some mental health things happened.
Sure.
And it didn't end up working out. But we definitely want to hit the road at some point. Hopefully get like a really solid route planned. I feel like that was another thing that we just weren't sure about when we did it, and we were
sure.
But yeah, so then hopefully sometime next year. So
hell yeah. Well, listen, I want to play one of your songs. Is there any song off the new record that you would like to have people hear?
I think if anything, it would probably be I'm something of a scientist myself.
Okay, hell yeah. Oh, that's like one of my favorites.
Oh, hell yeah. I appreciate that, because that was another one of those ones that I was very proud of, and I think everybody was pretty damn proud of. So
hell yeah. All right, well, this is I'm something of a scientist myself by The Sinner and the Saint.
Headline edition, July 8th, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Brownsville, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
Stars. Did every bone in your body break on impact? Now I'm not religious, but you might make it so. Never believed in angels till you came to our show. And I keep trying to explain all these stupid feelings in my brain, but I can't. Trying to explain all these stupid feelings in my brain, but I can't. A billion stars and only one you. If I had a rocket to space, so you know what I do. Beam me up, Scotty, to your home planet. I'm stuck down here on this place called Earth, and I can't stand it. Trying to explain all these stupid feelings in my brain, but I can't. I keep trying to explain all these stupid feelings in my brain, but I can't. Not of this earth. That it hurts. I love you so much that it hurts. And didn't it hurt? my UFO. You be Tom DeLonge, and I'll be Willem Dafoe.
Awesome. That was I'm something of a scientist myself. Homie Brandt, we're friends forever now. Like I'm so happy that we can
Oh,
get
okay.
you.
All right. Yeah.
We're buds now. I really appreciate getting the time to like talk to you. We've been talking online for so long. So this is
Hell yeah.
This is so sick to like finally meet you, put a name to a face. So this episode is going to be coming out here shortly, but just you have a wonderful rest of your day, big dog.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Take it easy.
See ya.
Bye.
Bye.